today we're going to take an opportunity to for the community to know Douglas and Jamie. We're going to have a conversation, and we're just going to talk about the future of Dillon, the future of the Sheriff's Department, a lot of concerns that many citizens in the community may have or may not have, but it'll give us an opportunity for citizens in Dillon County that don't know Douglas, that don't know Jamie, to get to know him. So today I'm just going to take an opportunity to interview Jamie and Douglas and give you guys an opportunity to see who they are and who they are as a person, with maybe just a 20-minute, 15-minute kind of interview, but give us an opportunity to get to know them. So Douglas, why are you the best for the job?
Well, personally, I feel that I have over 30 years of law enforcement experience. I served Dillon County as their former chief deputy from 2002 to 2009, where we had problems within the crime rate, but we was able to solve the crimes. We was able to solve 85% of our major violent crimes, and we got a 90% conviction rate. And I feel that I can bring that back to Dillon County, along with my chief deputy, Jamie Hamilton, and the team that we are putting together. I truly believe that we can reduce the crime rate here in Dillon County simply by reaching out to our local law enforcement, our state law enforcement, our federal law enforcement agencies, bringing the resources into Dillon County to help combat this epidemic that we face every day on the streets of Dillon County. And I believe that we can come in with some of the guys that's there now and put together a team that can get out here and work. It's going to take a lot of hard work. This is not going to be an easy task for anyone. And I just truly believe, with my work ethics that I've had in the past and I continue to have today, that I can make a difference in Dillon County.
Okay.
You know, I just kind of piggyback off what Douglas said. You know, when I came here on 1996, I started with Dillon County Sheriff's Office, and I started with Mullins Police Department back in 1994. But Douglas, I could readily see his rapport with the community. I could readily see that he knew who the people were. There were not many people in Dillon County that he couldn't tell you, well, go down this dirt road and go down that dirt road and make a left, and he knows the citizens of Dillon County. And I think it's important for everybody to know too that one of the things that he wanted me to know is, and he wants his message to be clear, is he wants to be a sheriff for all people. No matter what race, ethnic, religion, background, that kind of thing, he wants to be a sheriff for all people in Dillon County.
So what year did you guys both start at the Sheriff's Department?
I started in 1986, August the 4th, 1986. When I began my career with the Dillon County Sheriff's Office, I was the only deputy working the midnight shift. And I worked approximately 6 months alone, and then we later went to a 2-man rotation.
Do you remember how many people that was there when you first started?
When I started out, I was unit 16, 116, so that would be 16 individuals.
So what is your priority? And this is a question for both of you in the first 6 months. What is something that you're going to be, you know, it's hard to do everything in 6 months that you have. I mean, you have so many ideas, but what is going to be one of the biggest things you're going to try to do in the first 6 months to tackle?
Well, first of all, we're going to have to go in and reconstruct the Sheriff's Department. Based on the individuals that is there now, the policies that's there, we will have to make some changes. We're going to have to give people dual roles. I've seen where some officers just have a single role to do. And Dillon County is not large enough for you to just be able to concentrate on one role, and that's the only role that you play within this Sheriff's Department. You're going to have dual roles. We will ask that our administration, our top 4 guys, anytime we have a major crime, unless someone is out of town, you are expected to be at that call. And not only that, we will be working towards a community police relationship with our citizens. But our first and foremost is to make the citizens of Dillon County safe. And in order to do that, we're going to have to hit these streets. And we're going to have to combat this drug problem that we have, because that is the major problem that you have in your county. Not just Dillon County, in all the counties. So we will go in and to look at what has been done by the previous department. Hopefully that they would have left some cases on the board, on the table that we could work with. If not, we will go in and create what we call a confidential informant, better known as a CI. And we got to get out here and go to work. We got to go to work. We will be in a position to at least be able to say within our first 6 months, we're looking to have these streets clean.
What you, Jamie?
Absolutely. Again, I piggyback off what Doug, and that's another reason why I think people need to know that Doug and I are working together. We kind of know how each other think at the end of the day. And, you know, when I go throughout the county, he hears the same thing I do. There's places in this county that don't know who deputies are. There are places in this county that don't see deputies. And we got to be more visible to the community. I know Douglas has always been one that wants to be proactive in the community. He's coached football, I've coached baseball. We want our deputies, we want them to be known. We want them to be good citizens for our community. But we got to bridge that disconnect between the citizens and law enforcement.
Absolutely. So I think this is actually a pretty interesting question, talking about working together. And so why did you pick Jamie Hamilton to be your chief deputy?
Well, me and Jamie has worked together many nights and days for the citizens of Dillon County. And I feel that Jamie has a good rapport with the community as well as I do. Jamie has showed me his work ethics as me serving as the chief deputy and him working as a deputy and also helping in the narcotic field. He showed me that he really cared about Dillon County. This was no hard decision for me to make. Throughout my 12 years that I have not been involved with the Dillon County Sheriff's Department, Jamie Hamilton has always been a friend to me. He's reached out to me on different occasions. We stayed in communication. But most of all, I watched him grow up through the Sheriff's Department. I see how he can communicate with the citizens of Dillon County. And like he said earlier, he interacts with the students, he coaches. We want to be involved in the community. We just don't want to be the sheriff and the chief deputy. We want to be in the community, be involved in any and everything that's positive for Dillon County. He has the law enforcement experience. Again, as watching him grow within the Sheriff's Department, I feel that he has the same respect for Dillon County that I have. That is one of the main reasons and the only reason that I chose Jamie Hamilton to be my chief deputy.
Absolutely. So, and I won't let Jamie talk on that part.
Right.
But what do you see the biggest need in the Sheriff's Department is right now, and how would you guys tackle that need?
Again, as I explained a little earlier, the reconstruction of the Sheriff's Department. We want to go in and find out what's been working, what haven't been working. As we presently talk, there's only 3 officers on a shift. They have a B, C, and D shift. We believe that we can put at least 5 guys on a shift. That will create 2 more officers that is not out there today. And how are we going to do that is taking away these single roles and put people in dual roles so that they can get out and help answer these calls. The citizens are complaining about how long it's taking them to get to a call. And I'm not blaming them, because the 3 people, if we could only have 3, we would run into the same problem. But we have looked at the roster and we just believe that we could put 5 people on a shift and be able to cover these shifts and be able to cover these calls immediately. That means we're going to be working. That don't mean for the sheriff to the last man will be out here working for the citizens of Dillon County. There will be no time that someone will not be able to answer a call. If you are out there working, whether you're a school resource officer, whether you are investigator, if a call go out and you near that call, I would expect for you to answer that call, as long as it's not taking you off of duty that you're already on.
We've got to put more people in the community. And I think, you know, that's another thing that is going to be something we have to tackle. That's going to be day one. But, you know, and I can tell you just by working with Doug, I mean, it was nothing for he and I to be together, and he was a chief deputy. And he'd say, where was that call at? You know, let's go by and let's check on that officer and stuff like that. And I think that we know that officer safety is the paramount of what we look at every day. We definitely don't want officers to be in a bad situation, and we don't want our citizens to be in bad situations. So we've got to put more personnel out there, and we've talked about it. We think we'd be able to do that.
And I think y'all both have touched on this, but it just goes a little deeper into what we're talking about having men on the ground is with the budget restraints right now, and it's just not Dillon County, all across the state.
Right.
How can we stretch tax dollars to hire more officers to combat murders and to even answer those calls?
Right.
Well, first of all, again, like I said, we have to go in and reconstruct the sheriff's department. They are people who was just doing single roles, and we believe that we can turn this into a dual role, which will create more officers on the street. Now, we will be operating under the previous budget when we go in our first 6 months.
Just to end on what you're saying, we'll come to that last comment one more time.
Okay, and not only that, it would be equipment. I mean, we would want the very best equipment that's available. We will reach out to grants, whatever it takes to help subsidize the taxpayers of Dillon County. That's what we will be doing. We will be out there looking for grants that we can purchase equipment, vehicles. We also want to look at bringing in a task force. That's going to help. If we can get a grant where we can add to our department through a grant, that's one of our issues. So bringing more people, being able to answer calls, being able to help fight this drug epidemic that we face every day. There's ways and there's means. We just got to get out here and work at it and find money by federal government or even state government, state money that we could use to help fight this problem. I believe in this. If you don't spend money that don't belong to you just because it's there, and the taxpayers of Dillon County deserve to know where their tax dollars are being spent, and we will be across the board to show them where we are spending and how we are spending it.
And again, I think it's important, and Doug kind of touched on it. We've been able to go out in the past, and he and I both were part of a violent crime task force, and I was attached to the DEA task force. So when you deal with a limited number of people and a limited amount of resources, you find strength in numbers. You can go and you can talk to the federal people, and you can talk to the state people, you can talk to the city police of Dillon, Ladder, Lakeview, and you can partner with them on what your vision is going to be. And all of a sudden, that where you just had 2 people in the task force, they say, well, hey, you know, we'll put 2. Or the federal people say, well, I tell you what, we'll put 2. So actually you come out and you create more numbers. As well as I was just looking the other day, and Doug kind of touched on this too, that, you know, there is grants out there. I looked at Myrtle Beach Police Department. They just received a huge grant. So you have to do your due diligence, do your research, and try to reach out there and find those grants, because that's actually helping the taxpayers of Dillon County too.
Absolutely. So, you know, and just to kind of turn a little bit about from this county, we're talking about state and federal, and so in light of recent events, how will we improve engagement? You know, if you look at what's going on in the country, all across the country, I mean, it is something that that has hit home in South Carolina and Charleston. It has hit home, you know, all across this country. In light of recent events, how will you improve engagement between your department and communities, departments in the communities, where all citizens of Dillon County feel protected by the sheriff's department?
Well, I can truly tell you, every citizen of Dillon County, every citizen that's in Dillon County, will be protected by the Dillon County Sheriff's Department of this administration. Now, what we will have to do, we must be trained. We must be trained. the officers must be trained, along with different organizations that we can reach out to, and we will be glad to come out and talk to anybody that has an issue with race. We feel freely to be able to talk to them. And this will be something that will be in a policy that any officer that feel that another officer went beyond the call of duty in harming any citizens of this county or any citizen that's in this county must immediately report that to his supervisor. His supervisor must immediately report it to the sheriff or the chief deputy, and we will deal with it appropriately.
And I believe, Jacorie, it starts with just being just like we are today, having real conversations.
Absolutely.
Sitting out, going out and talking to the people in the community, just seeing what their concerns are, just talking to them. If they are having issues, whether it be racial issues or whatever, it just starts with genuine conversations and getting everybody on a common ground and being able to talk about issues.
And, this goes into one of my next questions is, we need, one of the biggest things that we see on social media, we see in the community, we hear, is the comment, we need more aggressive officers wanting to stop crime and not to turn a blind eye. It's been something that we've heard as long as we can, but how will you address the current issues with police brutality and still ensure men and women will fairly yet boldly can do their job? That they'll have that support from the sheriff's department, they'll have that support from the community, but vice versa, the community would have that support too. It's a tricky question, but it's something I want us to be able to tackle in our conversation.
Well, I want to say this. I stand 100% behind any law enforcement officer that's doing their job. Now, if you're not doing your job, then I will not stand behind you. And let's make this clear, what that simply means. If you go out the scope of the policy of the Dillon County Sheriff's Office, you're on your own. We will not tolerate anybody under this administration doing something outside the scope of the department. Now, if you or any other officer are involved in a situation where you was doing your job, I will stand behind you 100%. It does not matter what race you are. I stand behind law enforcement. That's my foremost and utmost respect. And that will be said throughout this community. We can only do our job if the citizens of Dillon County is doing their job. It does not matter who's the sheriff. We need the citizens of Dillon County behind the sheriff's department of Dillon County. And the way we can do that, by bridging these gaps between us. And by reaching out to you. If you need us to come and talk, or we reach out to you and say, listen, this is what happened in this community, and we want to come and tell our side of the story. We want to show you what really happened. And we will, as soon as it happens, as soon as we can get it to the citizens in the community, we will do that. We will not hide anything. That's the way we will run this organization.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, and I again, kind of what Doug said too, I think that ultimately what we need to know as deputy sheriffs is we're public servants. And you can go out and do a job without harassment. But at the same time, you can do your job and do your full scope of the job. And we want you to be effective. Like Doug said, we're going to be offering more training and hands-on training and things like that. So I think you've got to be able to recognize that ultimately, we're here for the citizens of Dillon County. That hasn't changed ever since any sheriff has had the responsibility of being the sheriff. We are here to serve the citizens of Dillon County.
Absolutely. And, we're coming on to some of our last two questions, but I want to ask this. Me living, we make a running joke in my family that we live in the middle of Iraq. We live in the middle of nowhere. There's, we just got Wi-Fi been able to use at my house probably a year ago.
Right.
So how will we improve response time for people that live in, as I joke about, in the middle of nowhere in our county, those rural parts of our communities, how do we make those times faster for the sheriff's department?
Well, number one, like we have said earlier, present you have only 3 officers per shift. We will have at least 5 to start out with. So therefore, that should cut the time rate of answering a call tremendous. If myself or the chief deputy is out, we're gonna answer calls as well. So by having more people available to answer calls should cut it at least in half of the time that they're doing now. But it's gonna be more of a proactive department. We will be out riding in the neighborhoods. We want people to see the patrol cars. We want them to know that we are out there protecting them. So therefore, we plan to have a proactive sheriff's department and not a reactive. And by having extra bodies out there to answer these calls, we'll cut down the rate of response time.
And I think it's important to, maybe try to have different deputies from different part of the communities. I've seen that, when Doug and I worked under a prior administration, he was real big on having deputies from that community. And I think that's important. We have ample qualified people here in Dillon County. And I think that, people in the community, again, if they know who these deputies are, I can't tell you how many times people just pick the phone up and I handle a phone call before a deputy even went. They would say, "Hey, Jamie, I've got this going on," and they didn't, because some people don't feel comfortable calling 911.
Absolutely.
Some people just want to have that better, rapport with the deputy. So sometimes, and Doug's already said it to me, hey, it's going to be important for our people in Dillon County to be able to pick the phone up, call our deputy sheriffs, and you'd be amazed of what you can keep down just by them being able to say, you know what, I don't have to call 911. I can call this deputy. I can call the chief. I can call the sheriff. And we feel like we can, better reach the community like that also.
Some of those people at the sheriff's department now weren't there when you were previously there. How do you earn that respect? How do you get to know those officers that you don't know?
Well, like I said earlier, a lot of them I do know, some of them I do not know. But first of all, I have to show respect in order to earn respect. And that's one of the things I would do. I would like to meet with each individual on a personal note, not on law enforcement, just sit down and learn that individual. I would give every individual an opportunity to have employment at the Dillon County Sheriff's Office, but it's going to take time. This is not something that's going to happen overnight. This is something where we're going to have to meet with them, and they're just going to have to be willing to be a team player. I've always been a team player. If you're willing to be a team player, then you can play on the team. If you can't be a team player, then I would ask that you would go and find employment somewhere else. But the main reason that I feel that I will be able to win them over, because I respect each and every one of them as a family member. Because you have to be in law enforcement to feel that connection.
Right.
I often tell people, they say, what did you miss by not being there? And the main thing that I miss, not being able to go around the people that I've worked with for years.
Yeah.
It just takes something out of you. And I want to bring that back. It's going to be a family affair. We're going to all be one family. That is my goal.
It's kind of funny Doug said that. I remember when my first son was born, and Doug called and saying, you want to wait to the hospital, let me know how everything turns out and stuff like that. And I can tell you that here recently I've talked to law enforcement officers, and if you walk away from it, that's what you miss. It's the small things, but it's family. It's family.
So that includes our mini interview, and hopefully this gives the community an opportunity to know you guys, and even the guys at the sheriff department that don't know you, and people in the community. But is there anything else that you want to, questions that I may not have asked you, or something that I may have not said that you would like to go, even if it's your favorite type of food? I mean, anything that you want to talk about, really, that you would like people in the community to know, or something about you?
I'm just excited and hoping and praying that come November the 3rd, that the citizens of Dillon County will elect me to be the sheriff of Dillon County, so that we can begin this journey and get out here and go to work and help clean up Dillon County and just bring it back to where it should be, and not blaming anyone, because it's tough. And the two of us and the other guys that's going to be on the team, we just ready to go to work.
Absolutely.
We ready to go to work. And that's all I would say to the citizens. When you go in and cast your vote, just give us an opportunity. Give us an opportunity to work for you. I have given Dillon County all my adult life, and I'm just asking that on November the 3rd, that you will remember that and cast your vote for Douglas Pernell for sure.
Jamie, I will let you lead us out, and anything else you want to add to the citizens of Dillon County?
Most importantly, and I do exactly feel the same way I do, we need your prayers.
Absolutely.
We need your prayers. It's hard, like Doug said, and it's a hard job for law enforcement. But we need the citizens. We need your prayers, and we need people to give us a chance. And ultimately, the most important thing I can take away from this is, I don't know it's going to be like this. If you have a concern, pick the phone up, and we're going to make ourselves available. We will be available to the citizens of Dillon County. But we cover those prayers. We need them.
Absolutely. Right. Thank you guys so much for joining us.